Subjectively, community is the epitome of resourcefulness. As mentioned in a previous commentary, the Black communal involvement emphasized within previous years was a tactical strategy for overcoming societal barriers. Specifically for Black Americans, collective contribution aided our individual progression, as demonstrated by the Black Panther Party, whom at first primarily organized neighborhood police patrols that took advantage of open carry laws to combat police brutality. Yet over time, the party's mandate expanded to include social programs, institutionalizing the free breakfast for children programs to address food injustices, in addition to the People's Free Medical Centers, i.e., community health clinics, educating members of the Black community whom otherwise would not have the access to information on sickle cell anemia or HIV and AIDS. The People's Free Medical Center offered services such as testing for high blood pressure, lead poisoning, tuberculosis, and diabetes. The center provided cancer detection screenings, physical exams, treatments for the cold and flu, as they administered immunizations against polio or measles. Black communal involvement is also pronounced academically, as demonstrated by HBCU alumni. According to the Black Enterprise founder, Earl Graves Sr., proud alumnus of Morgan State University, annual alumni contribution makes up the literal lifeblood of colleges and universities, and they are even more critical to HBCUs. Annual alumni giving is key to funding the endowments that provide for infrastructure maintenance and expansion, funding scholarships and other financial aid, technological upgrades, attracting and retaining top administrators and facility, and much more. And to briefly note the Nation of Islam and the Black Christian Church, the Nation of Islam provided a militant presence within and or for the Black community, establishing private Black schools with culturally centered curriculums, furthermore placing a great emphasis on Black self-determination, profoundly molding the Black identity through the knowledge of self and surrounding influences, especially during a time where this was not commonly encouraged societally. And then to briefly reference the Black Christian Church, as stated by Nicole Tenson, historically, the Black Church has been a place for creating individual, systemic, and political changes within the Black community. So concisely, community is important, and I was further affirmed of this belief once completing Earl, the Autobiography of Dmx, which is a remarkable first-person account detailing his self-discovery and 13-year pursuit of acclaimed success. In the process, Earl Simmons became a father, a husband, a role model, and an international icon known as DMX. As mentioned within an article entitled Dark Man X: The Resurrection, where Mark Anthony Green interviewed DMX for GQ, Green states, "It's easy to forget how successful DMX was. To this day, he's the only rapper to have his first 5 studio albums debut at #1 on the Billboard 200s. He is the only living rapper to have 2 albums go platinum in the same year. He starred in massive budget action films and made millions. It's easy to forget the highs because of his lows. X has, for example, been to jail some 30 times in his life. Charges against him vary from drug possession to robbery to probation violation and everything in between. Yet as we revisit his childhood, we are revealed to attributed influences. For Earl Simmons' minimal supervision and limited resources resulted in nefarious activities, which forced a constant displacement, affording him prominence as a traveling rapport consistent of good and bad developed. Simmons would acquire a legal rapport as he became well acquainted with the judicial system, as he would often appear before a judge in court, or as the police department would detain him frequently. Simmons would also develop a street rapport amongst School Street inhabitants as well as surrounding areas for being Arnett's son or Joe's boy. His identity was further characterized by his canine companionships, defiancy, rap battles, and or close associations. Born unto teenage parents, then abandoned by his biological father, abused by his biological mother, and bereaved of his paternal grandmother, you then begin to question his evolution and ask yourself, how can someone survive within these circumstances for as long as he did and emerge more triumphant than anticipated? And a lot of it reverts back to community. There's a heavy undertone and or overtone that emphasizes, even if not intended, there is an emphasis of community. For example, Simmons highlighted the local rationalization of mixtapes sold on the street versus albums purchased within stores. Often, the local audience preferred to purchase mixtapes because they were half the price of an album, and you either trusted the artist selling the tape, saw the artist freestyling during a rap battle, personally knew the artist featured on the tape, or everyone within that given demographic was talking about said artist or mixtape, as seen with DMX's Born Loser. When Earl Simmons was jumped after being falsely accused of robbery, it was later confirmed that he was in fact falsely accused due to an indiscretion within the victim's story, which was only clarified because the community knew Earl and knew how he actually got down when he got down with the get down. Simmons also mentioned the neighborhood ma he encountered within Baltimore. A ma can be a woman ranging from as young as 30 to as old as 80. The ma figure is like a mother to the youth within a given area. She is well respected by all. She will cook for you, advocate for you, be your sanctuary when you need protection. She is the mother when you are left an orphan. She is the mother when your parent is neglectful and or absentee. She is the mother of that community. And again, this reinforces the concept of community. So community was the biggest takeaway that I received from Earl, the autobiography of DMX. Even as I reflect upon notable Black influences, I can, refer to Madam C.J. Walker. And if it wasn't for Black men and women supporting her business, as in helping her make the products and package the products, if it wasn't for Black women purchasing her product, she would not be the first Black millionaire, the first Black female millionaire. So community is so influential, and it's actually more fundamental than it's perceived. Even as mentioned within a chapter of this autobiography, DMX, also known as Earl Simmons, however you want to refer to him, he was mentioning how he could make $1 stretch, and not even just $1, he really could just use the gift of gab, knowing who he knew and, being who he is to attain a spare cigarette. He just had to ask someone. He just had to know someone, and, he would be able to get a cigarette. He wouldn't have to spend 25 cents or 50 cents out of his dollar. He could just ask for it, and that's community. That's community. So it's really interesting, especially given the shift of our current generation and the nuances that we are currently experiencing within this millennium. So it's kind of interesting because community has shifted. I wouldn't say that it's absolutely absolved, but it's not as prevalent as it used to be or as it could be.